And another subtopic here is has to do with needs. This is not my, psychology is not my field, but I know people that it is. And needs is a buzz in the field of psychology, because when people don't know what their needs are, or their needs are not being met, then the mind is disturbed. And then there's this pyramid of hierarchy of meeting needs. The basic needs is you have to eat. And then mental, intellectual, social, interpersonal, and self-realization need. It's a kind of a pyramid of needs. It's a common concept in the field of psychology. And the idea here is, by awakening our spiritual awareness, which requires gradual meeting of needs and elevation of consciousness, etc., to be in this position where your spirituality is awakened more than yesterday, and then the emotions that are going on within the mind is something that you can direct towards a higher purpose, rather than just tuck them under the rug or run away from them or get caught. So that's the topic. You saw this one yesterday? No? Okay. There's something else in here. But there's we spoke a little bit, didn't we speak a little bit about holistic picture? HOLISTIC, holistic, not with W. Holistic picture of self is, needs. We have bodily needs, or things that concern us on the platform of the body. Mental needs, traditional idea of the mind is three components: thinking, contemplating, then feeling in relation to those things that you're contemplating, willing in relation to those feelings from what you've been contemplating. Those are functions of the mind. And then intellect makes some choices and directs your activities in all three spheres. And of course, at the center, empowering and energizing and enlightening the whole self, body, mind, and intelligence is who we really are. Remember the iceberg example? Those are what you were with us yesterday. The iceberg metaphor. There's different applications, but there's the part of the iceberg that's above the surface of the water, that's observable things, more observable than what's below the surface of the water. So there's the topic we spoke of. We'll see it again. Form. I'm dressed in a certain way, and so forth and so on. That I've on the way here and yesterday also. The signs. I was curious. What is there a native Singaporean language? Because many signs are the language I'm unfamiliar with, and some are just straight English, and some are Chinese, and some are it's a big mix here in Singapore. So people that have this language have this culture, and they stick together. People have that language and that culture, they tend to stick together. Birds and feathers fly together. It's natural. So the idea here is the integrating force, spiritual meaning, the integrating force of all these different things in the holistic picture of who we are. We have a body, we have a mind, we have an intellect, and we have who we are. And driving the whole machine, empowering, energizing, is who we are. Or little skinny guy in the middle, that's us. That's the soul. So say when the soul departs the body, everything disintegrates. There's a verse in one of the Vedic texts, the Upanishads, air merges with the totality of air, earth goes back to the earth elements, and everything go back. Then which brings it all together is that spark of life. And that's who we are. Now there's the package, the holistic picture of we have a body, we have a culture, we have a way of doing things, we like these foods, we like those sounds, and so forth and so on, having to do with the coverings, gross and subtle. When I say gross and subtle, what does that mean? The Bhagavad Gita understanding that says there's who we are, the soul, and then there's gross covering, this gross body, and then there's a subtle covering, with the subtle covering, mind, intelligence, and our dear friend, false ego. Very dear to us, false ego. And those are subtle coverings, then the gross covering, and then there's the animating force within. Spirituality is to connect with who we really are, and then to align those things that are even coverings with who we really are. And respecting that other people have a different covering, so there's differences amongst us, that's fine. This is touching on what we spoke about yesterday. But there's this commonality that we all share. We're all spiritual beings, but we're seeing guys in the middle. And then the coverings are different. That's fine. Even amongst a group, there's differences. All crows are not alike. All parrots are not alike. All living entities, all humans are not alike. But we have a commonality that we share. And so identifying on that platform helps us have a sense of brotherhood or unity while respecting diversity. That's the idea. So look at this. It's a Bhagavad Gita verse. This is important. Anybody here needs an introduction to Bhagavad Gita? Like, what is it? What is this text of Bhagavad Gita? I'll step back from Bhagavad Gita and speak about the word Veda, 2 syllables, V-E-D-A. Veda in Sanskrit means knowledge. Anything that falls in the category of knowledge is absolute knowledge is Veda. And just like here's a university, it specializes in something. Let's say a big university has many departments. Science departments and subdivisions of the science department, a law division, the history division, literature division, medicine division, sociology division, politics division, technology division, many subjects. So the university has many departments. Similarly, Vedas has many departments. And one of those departments is a history department. And within the history department, there's this wisdom called Bhagavad Gita. It's right in the middle of this big history called Mahabharata. You don't have to remember the names, just get the picture. Big history. And the history of Mahabharata is there's the good guys and the bad guys. Really simple language. People that believe in living an ethical life, a life of virtue, and staying with it. And whatever the expense and cost is, living a life of virtue. And then there's another group of people in this Mahabharata. They don't care. And it justifies the means. Get it however you get it. Be unscrupulous, no problem. You just get on top. That's these other guys. And there's a conflict with their cousins. And it ends up in a very unfortunate situation where there's a battle. And the main person of the good ones, one of the main persons is Arjuna, the good guy's son. And he looks at this battlefield and says, I'm out of here. Here's why. Here's 7 reasons why I'm out of here. These are virtuous reasons. Please agree with me because I'm out of here. So then there's discussion back and forth about what is one's duty when certain senses of life become difficult. We all know what that is. circumstances of life can become. How do you decide? Turn left or right? And so there's this discussion called Bhagavad Gita, where principles of consciousness are laid out through the yoga system. So a while ago you were doing asanas. I asked this yesterday. Is your teacher taking you through pranayama, which is another one of the eightfold yoga system? So asanas, postures. Pranayama is more subtle. It's disciplining or drilling or controlling the life airs within the body for the purpose of elevation of consciousness. In elevation, there's other rungs on the yoga ladder called, what you are doing is one part of an eightfold yoga system. Ashtanga in Sanskrit means eight. Anga means limb. So 8 limbs. Ashtanga yoga. You did one of the 8. But in this Ashtanga yoga is elevation of consciousness through steps, like rungs on the ladder leading to elevation of consciousness. That's the purpose of asana that you're doing. I mean, it has its benefits down here on the body plane. You feel this, your health is better, and so many nice things. But the purpose of that alignment is towards this higher consciousness principle. So that's what Bhagavad Gita is. One way of describing it's an ancient text that describes the yoga systems, plural. There's multiple. This one, this one, this one, this one. There's a purpose behind them, it's elevation of consciousness. So here's a verse from Bhagavad Gita. You don't read Sanskrit, but here's the translation. It's a gradual, one thing is higher than the other. Working senses are superior to dull matter. That's easy. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind, and he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. Remember that pyramid before, the holistic pyramid. So the goal of yoga, the goal of understanding what's what, the makeup of who we are, is that which is who we really are. It's the animating force, life force, the soul within the body, gross and subtle. Again, remember, mind, intelligence, and ego, those are subtle coverings of the soul. The gross covering is the body and senses. But the holistic picture is, for all those things, at least the coverings are part of the temporary identity that we take. But supposing you change your clothes today for another set of clothes tomorrow, you haven't changed your identity. You have a different set of clothes. So coverings of the soul can change, but there's something that's unchanging within. The system of yoga is to connect with that unchanging something within. That's us. That's getting up. Okay, so now this is definition time. What is spiritualized emotional intelligence? Let's say, what's unspiritualized emotional intelligence? Somebody says something nasty to me, and I have some choices to make. I could punch them. I could scream at them. I could feel hurt. I could run away, and so many other choices I could make. And making from those manual the list of options of what I can do when I experience something in the mind, starts on the senses and then goes to the mind, and I'm processing it. And emotional intelligence is, let me direct my mind towards that which is going to serve my purpose of life. So I can identify with who I really am and be consistent with my understanding of who I really am. So if I'm a good person, I may be tolerant. I may be forgiving. I may feel so many things. Depends on, remember from yesterday, those of you who were with us yesterday, modes of nature. The modes of nature help you make selections from the menu. So a symptom of goodness is you're tolerant. A symptom of goodness is you're forgiving. Forgiving doesn't mean, that's the thing it doesn't mean. But you just don't hold on to it. You hold on to it, something else happens. You feel some anger. If somebody mistreats you or speaks harshly or hurts you or hurts somebody dear to you or something like that. Remember from yesterday, it's interpersonal and meditation and how they intersect. That was yesterday. Okay. So what's spiritual? Emotional intelligence or spiritualized emotional intelligence. Here's a fellow tightrope walking. On the one side is his heart, on the other side is his head. And I may, let's say from the heart side, I may feel forgiving or I may feel angry. It's a feeling. And then, what am I going to do about that feeling is the head side. So we find ourselves sometimes struggling in imbalance between the two, or making our choices of how we're going to live our life between these two. But if you put awareness of who you are, because the theme of this from yesterday is to understand who you are, is assisted by meditation. Detachment from who you aren't helps you to understand who you are. Make sense? Supposing I think I'm American, because that's what my passport says. And when I entered into Singapore, it took a face recognition. That's who I am. It took my thumbprints. That's who I am. That's not who I am. That's the covering. Fine, that's the covering. And after some time, the covering's going to change. And after some time, I'll get another covering. Altogether different one. And then it start again. And so that's not who I am. Although I'm acknowledging and living my life with an American passport, and therefore I need visas to do certain things. I didn't need a visa to come to Singapore, but I had to do the facial recognition with thumbprint. Follow the rules. But that's not who I am. They don't know who I am either. They know the covering, something about the covering. So, with spiritualized emotional intelligences, here's some emotions, and the same connected with emotions are behaviors. And then it says spiritualized emotional intelligence is where you know who you are. And then intelligence is given, right in Bhagavad Gita. Intelligence is given how to live your life in such a way you reach the platform of full awareness, moving through life day by day, going through stuff, knowing who you are. And then in the highest sense of who you are. While you're dealing with immigration coming through the border and stuff. Spiritualized emotional intelligences. So I was able to tell a joke or two with the fellow who was having me stand in front of the machine, put my thumbs on the fingerprint recognition. I just said, so you don't have your landing card anymore. Smile. It's all digital. And then I had to stand in front of the machine, look at the machine, and it turned blue. So I thought it was going to say, go stand there, wait till it turns green. It goes from red to blue to green. And stay. I'll be blue. So you can have interactions that are friendly and social, courteous things, but the higher purpose of many of your students, not everyone I understand, but many of your students, what's the purpose of all of this anyway? And if you don't know who you are, then you have some other idea of what your purpose is. Because you have to have some purpose, otherwise what are you doing? Take that doesn't mean put that purpose into the trash can, but align that purpose with the higher purpose. And so spiritualized emotional intelligence is connecting what's going on in the mind, and what's going on in the mind has a lot to do with what's going on with the senses. Because sense information goes to the mind processes it. Intelligence analyzes it and makes choices. So align that with who you really are, the mission. If you don't, say it again, if you don't know the mission, good luck. Another way of saying spirituality without emotional intelligence can be disturbance. Repeat this. Emotional intelligence without spirituality is a victory without a foundation. In other words, I like to be good. But sometimes people kick me in the shin that I lose that goodness. Is it possible when someone kicked me in the shins to say, besides saying ouch, you can say other things. You can stay in the platform of goodness, even when something hurtful happens. So that's where there's emotional intelligence with spirituality. So that's our topic. All of this so far is just defining our topic for this morning. The transformative power of meditation. I mentioned it before. You're going to see this twice. So here it is. I'm not a psychology student, but I've heard of Maslow. He's a well-known name in the field of psychology. And one of his premises is you have to breathe. You have to have water, you have to have food, you have to have some sleep. There's physiological needs. And when your physiological needs are met, you can then start thinking a little bit more about safety and higher needs. It's not like you have to get 100 on this one before you go to that one. But there's some basics in our needs for the physical department and safety and so forth. But the idea, even in Maslow, he's not the yoga practitioner, but he understands this higher purpose is to know who you are. Yet he calls it self-actualization. I'm using the phrase to know who you are, and being even more specific, that little skinny guy, the soul that animates the whole machine. That's the goal of yoga, and that's the goal of spiritualized emotional intelligence. So here's a little, I hope the technology works. These are some people that speak about the dreaded drama triangle. There may be some interactive session at the end. Let's see. But this is cute. So let's see if it works. Okay.
Are you working from presence or the drama triangle? Brought to you by the Conscious Leadership Group. Find them on the web at
My machine's going and this thing's done. Just lost everything.
Are you working from presence or the drama triangle? Brought to you by the Conscious Leadership Group. Find them on the web at www.conscious.is. Conscious leaders know the difference between working from presence and working from the drama triangle. Presence is above the line and drama is below the line. Most leaders and most organizations spend most of their time in the drama triangle. Drama is characterized by blame, wanting to be right, toxic fear, and adrenaline. Like good dramas at the movies, all drama has characters that play certain roles. The drama triangle has a hero, a villain, and a victim. The job of the hero is to seek temporary relief. The keyword is temporary. The hero is the one who gives a hungry person a fish sandwich rather than teaching them how to fish. The hero doesn't want others or themselves to feel bad, so they say and do things that make the immediate pain go away, without facing and dealing with the core issue. When I'm exhausted from overworking, I hero myself by eating and drinking mindlessly, or surfing the web, or exercising. When another feels sad, I hero them by saying things like, "It'll be okay," or "I'll do it for you." The hero seeks value by being needed by others. The second role on the drama triangle is the villain. The villain's job is to blame. I can blame myself, others, or blame the group. When I blame myself, I say things like, "I shouldn't have eaten that donut," or "I should work harder," or "I messed up that presentation." When we blame others, we say, "It's your fault we didn't get that project done," or "You didn't give your best effort." When we blame a group, we say, "They messed it up for all of us," or "They just don't get it." The final role on the triangle is the role of victim. The victim is at the effect of. Life is happening to them. For the victim, a person, circumstance, or condition is doing something or not doing something that is causing the victim's life to be as it is. I can be at the effect of anything, including my boss, my kids, the weather, my job, the traffic, the economy, my body, and my mood. When I'm in victim, I'm feeling powerless. Every role in the drama triangle is a form of victim consciousness. And in the end, everyone is trying to prove that they are the biggest victim. When people and teams work in presence, the roles change. The victim moves from victim to being the creator. They take responsibility for their lives and stop complaining about what is happening to them. The villain becomes the challenger. Challengers bring healthy pressure to the creator to support them in facing and dealing with their lives in a way that creates a breakthrough. Unlike the villain, they don't blame or criticize. In presence, the hero becomes the coach. The coach doesn't try to fix anyone. They see everyone as fully empowered creators of their own lives and seek to support them in taking responsibility for creating the life they most want. Leaders and teams that learn to play in the creator, coach, or challenger roles of presence find they are more creative, engaged, aligned, and energized. They have more fun and get more things done. So, are you working from presence or the drama triangle?
That's it. And our topic is going to be pursuant to how to get into the coach category instead of staying stuck in the one of the other three categories in the drama triangle. That's our topic. Let's see what happens next. So I think I'm going to skip having a group discussion right now because I want to move on. But one thing we could do is have a group discussion. Yeah, you know, our little breakout groups like we did yesterday. And how does this video reflect the environments you find yourself in, for social, family, etc.? And which characters in the drama triangle do you particularly resonate with, or maybe from the coach side? So that's very valuable, but I'm gonna move on. Maybe we can come back to it. Let's see where we are with time. We can go to this slide again. Many people like stories. I like stories. I like images too. I'm a visual person. So I mentioned, I'm going back here to our friend with racism and specifically wanting to move back on what's Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is part of the history section. There are other texts in the history section. One of those texts in the history section, the Sanskrit term is Purana. Purana means old histories of ancient times and personalities of ancient times that exemplified something. And from that we can learn lessons about what they exemplify. So one of those persons is Dhruva. Dhruva was the son of the emperor of the world. And he was the eldest son. So according to the law at that time, the eldest son would become the next emperor. And but he wasn't ambitious. It was just an understood reality. Then there was a villain. That was his stepmother. Because his father, who was the emperor of the world, had two wives. He was the eldest son of the first wife. And then there was a co-wife whose name was Suruchi, and I have nicknamed her Sue Nasty. Sue means very, and she was very nasty. And next music. George Harrison loves the sun. So the story has a "here comes the sun" kind of message to it. It's about the universe, speaking about meditation. A liberated person is not attached to material sensation, but is always in trance, enjoying pleasure within. In this way, self-pleasure enjoys unlimited happiness when he concentrates on the speaking of us. Meditation yoga. Let's hear the story of Dhruva. That lady on the left, that's his stepmother. She had the second son born to the king, he's seated on the throne there. The second son was a little younger, and the second son was sitting on the father's lap, and that's a little boy wanted to sit on his father's lap also, so he tried to climb up on his father's lap. And Sunasti came along and said, "Get down. You don't understand. You're not going to sit on the seat of the throne of your father. And the reason is, you weren't born from my womb. But if you're very fortunate, if the Supreme gives you favor, you'll die. And you'll take your birth again from my womb, and then you can sit on your father's lap. Get down." Now, what does the little boy understand about all that? But he got the basic idea. The body language was enough to say what was going on. So he turned to his father. There's the villain, and there's the victim, and there's the father who's so much attached to his second wife that he doesn't want to say anything that might upset her, so that she won't be nice to him. So he remains silent. Dhruva looks at his father, who's remaining silent, bursts out in tears, and runs from the room, from the palace, to find his mother. So, what is this lady up to? So, yes, tough love, maybe no love. So she's in this villain role. And Dhruva is the key person. He's going to decide what he's going to do. So what he does, he leaves the palace, and he goes to find his mother with a feeling of anger. He's been hurt very badly, especially by his stepmother, but also by his father. Feeling shame, remember those terms? The victim feels those betrayal, loss, loneliness, no negative emotions. Remember, our topic is emotional intelligence. How to, when some negative emotion comes, what do you do with it? So what he did is he went to his mother, and he was just crying and crying, couldn't even speak. And she knew what to do. She just comforted him. And from others that were in the palace, the others explained what happened. So now she understood. And now she feels natural to his mother. She feels affection for her son and wants to protect her son. But she is making some choices. Fortunately for her, she has spiritual intelligence, spiritualized emotional intelligence. So she does what mothers do when the child has been hurt emotionally or physically or whatever. She comforts. But then the very next thing that she does, because of spiritualized emotional intelligence, she starts giving some nice lessons in life to her son. So this is just a graphic. On the left, there's some strong emotion coming from the son to the mother and from the mother. And commonly what happens is problem solving, what to do. I'm going to get back at my stepmother, the co-wife of the queen. I'm going to this, I'm going to so. This shows her first reaction is empathy. And along with that empathy, she wants to help her son understand the path of higher consciousness. Because that's where she is. That's the consciousness that she's acquired. Now, you don't read Sanskrit, but there's the Sanskrit. And Mangala means auspicious. And the negative of Mangala is Mangala. And Mangala is don't wish anything inauspicious unto others. Because if you wish inauspiciousness to others, that's going to come back to you. You will suffer that same thing that you wish unto others. You've heard that one, right? As you sow, shall you shall reap. That's a biblical thing. Whatever you do comes back on you. It's a karma principle. So she's teaching him, even in the heat of his like crying and crying, and she's comforting him to some degree. She's feeling helpless because she knows she can't do anything because her husband, the emperor, doesn't like her as much as he likes the co-wife. He's partial to his co-wife. She's helpless. She can't do something to protect her son. So what she can do, she's doing. She's teaching him higher principles to live by. It's very important. And then she makes, here's a Bhagavad Gita verse. He is a perfect yogi. This is the coach model. She is modeling what a coach is like. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true quality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress or doom. She's identifying with her son's feelings, but not in a retaliation mode. She's advising, don't get in a get back mode towards your stepmother. Don't do that, because that ill wishing that you have towards her is going to come back. I feel your feelings, empathy. My dear boy, you should take shelter of the Supreme, who is very kind to his devotees. Persons seeking liberation from the cycle of birth and death always take shelter in devotional service. So he's letting her know, not only do I want to sit on my father's lap, not only do I want to sit on the throne after my father is gone, I want a kingdom better than my father. Because he's a spirited warrior type little boy. I want a better kingdom. I'll show them. So what do I do? And his mother says, your great ancestor, she names them without going into detail. They achieved amazing fortune because of their dedicated service to the Supreme. So you want this like better than your father's kingdom. You have to go to the Supreme because you can come here to the Supreme and anything can happen. Becoming purified by executing your allotted occupation, just situated supreme in your heart and without deviating for a moment, engage always in his service. No, Dhruva's little boy, he doesn't exactly understand what that means. What he does understand is, I want a kingdom. I want to get back. And can you help me understand how to get back? I can't help you because your father won't listen to me. But you go to the Supreme, and whatever it is, you become dear to the Supreme. You can achieve whatever it is that you want. So he says, okay, how do I find the Supreme? He said, well, I live in the palace. I hear that sages, they go to the forest And somehow through different means, they find the Supreme. He said, very well, I'm heading for the forest. And off he went to the forest. When he went to the forest, he didn't find the Supreme. He found trees and birds and mosquitoes and wildlife and all kinds of things, but he didn't find the Supreme. Fortunately for him, his misfortune was heard by a great sage, pictured here, that's Narada. Whenever you see a sage holding this musical instrument called a veena, then that, you know, that's Narada. There are many different paintings of Naradas. Narada finds a little boy out in the forest and starts to give him some very similar advice that his mother gave, and even stronger, saying, you know, not like to discourage him, but you're a little boy. Some learned people, they come to the forest lifetimes, they're searching for the Supreme, and they're unsuccessful. Your little boy, why don't you go back home, become an adult when you're ready, you can come out here and try this. And he gives different suggestions. Dhruva says, your advice is very good. There's one problem. I'm a spirited warrior type person, and I can't follow your instructions. It doesn't go in my heart. So can you do this? Can you tell me how I can find the Supreme? Because you're a big sage, I'm sure you know how. And so when Narada sees the determination of Dhruva, he touches him on the head and he gives him elaborate instructions in yoga. They're not just sitting in an air-conditioned room. He's out in the forest. And, you know, and everything, A to Z. It's like a long section. In a previous age, when people lived much longer, they had higher virtues, and so forth and so on. They were able to perform yoga along with the mantra. And there's the mantra that Narada gave to Dhruva. Did you heard this one before? Those of you that know the mantra, I'll say it 3 times. You can say it with me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You gave this whole elaborate, there's like, I don't know, 25 pages of instructions we gave him in performing yoga during a previous age, including mantra meditation. Dhruva was very satisfied. He's like a 5-year-old boy, and off he goes. He gave him a place to go, which was in Vrindavan. Maybe some of you heard of that place. Certainly those of you in India know who Vrindavan is. And so off he went. And he took his sacred bath and a sacred river and went to the top of a hill. In about 12 days, I'm going to be at that place. And it's a very nice place. And he underwent severe practices, including curtailing his eating. I didn't bring the Bhagavatam text with me, but you know, 5-year-old boy, every 3 days, he ate some berries and some fruits every 3 days for 1 month. I don't know any little boy that can do that. And then after that first month, he switched to eating every 6 days, what's shown here, just some dry leaves that fell to the ground from trees, from dry grass. Yummy. And then it goes on. He practiced the breathing exercise. I mentioned that earlier, where eventually every 12 days he's taking a breath of air. But we can't do stuff like that. But he had such power, along with chanting of his mantra, that in this final month, you see pictured on the right side, he was standing on one leg. And his whole body, because of his concentration on the Supreme, was so strong. His foot, right foot, was pressing into the ground and made it indent a few inches because he became heavy like the universe, because within his heart, he was seeing the Supreme. And what happened at that point was Lord Vishnu came before him. There's a few things in between. But Lord Vishnu, who he saw within his heart, suddenly his meditation broke. Vishnu disappeared. He opened his eyes because he was startled and he saw Vishnu standing before him. And he wanted to say something, but he was stunned. And so Vishnu touched his forehead with his conch shell, and he spoke some very, very wonderful words. And back to our Maslow chart here. The message with this story is he wanted acceptance because he was the son of the emperor. He had all this stuff, but his security and safety was threatened because of his stepmother, and he wanted, to be. He didn't see any differentiation between his mother and his stepmother. She did. He didn't see like that. When she spoke like she did, he's glad and get back. I'll show her. Competitive spirit. Towards the end, he, by controlling these lower urges and needs, he became a fully self-realized person. And when Vishnu spoke to him, he said, Dhruva said, Vishnu said, take whatever benediction you like. You please me very much by your strong devotion to me. Take any benediction you like. His answer was, before I was like a person searching for some pieces of broken glass. And now I've achieved this most valuable jewel, your association. So I don't need anything. Nothing. Big time desire subsided because of higher consciousness. He got the kingdom. When he went back, it was arranged that he became, the next king. And he lived a long, long life. And at the end of his long, long life, he attained the abode of the Supreme. He got the kingdom better than his father. He had his father's kingdom better than his father. But in the course of what he was undergoing under the guidance of Narada, it wasn't just take care of my need, the drama triangle. Narada wasn't playing the role of the hero that was helping him to get what he wanted. He got what he wanted, but he got more than what he wanted. So when he went back home, that's his mother, received him very warmly. His stepmother also profusely apologized for the hurtful things she had done. So she had become remedied, at least to some degree, from the wicked mentality that she had to speak the way that she spoke to her stepson. So now this is the possible interactive. Let's see if we have time for it. So this is reference to the drama triangle. And are there personalities in the story within the drama triangle that you can identify? The hero, the villain, and the victim. And he had this mantra, Om Gopavate Vasudevaya, how the mantra meditation helped Dhruva. How would you describe the role of coach? Specifically, it's Narada, but also it's mother did a fantastic job in emotional or spiritual maturity. And what are some things to take from all this lesson? I think that's the final slide. Yeah, that's the final slide. So, how are we doing with time? Okay. 11:15. What's the cutoff time? 12?
11:45.
11:45. So there's two things we could do. And I think it was really nice, the interactive session was really nice yesterday. So maybe we can do that. And if there's some discussion, it can come up maybe in the afternoon session. So if you have questions, make note of them, how we do that. And we'll discuss later. So you take it away.
Hello, everyone. Time to do some interactive discussion. First, let's just recap the drama triangle and the presence.